On the point of bugs, I don't know what it is, but they love me. They hate my wife whenever we go out to photograph. I don't really know what it is about these just like big grassland areas that I love so much, but we're out here at a local state park in West Tennessee, and they're all just these grasses that are growing high. They may be weeds, they may be wildflowers, they haven't bloomed yet. Maybe they already bloomed and they fell off. Just this whole scene, I already took a photograph of this wide scene, but I started noticing a little bit more of the details that were down in these tall plants specifically. And I got down low and I started using my wide angle lens at f2.8, and I started getting these really dreamy looking photographs. And I just wanted to come out here and photograph, try a lot of different things today. I didn't have any planned in mind, but I'm already liking what I'm getting, and it's nothing that I expected to get. I'm testing out a few things today. Number one, Moment, not sponsored by them, or this video is not sponsored, but they sent me some variable ND filters. You're actually watching on one right now. I can shift this on how bright and dark you can see it. First, let me take you through the shot that I'm going through right now. So what I'm doing with this photo is something that I typically don't do, but with an f2.8 lens, what I'm able to do is get really blurred areas of the photograph except for exactly what I want to have in focus here. And I'm actually focusing in on this plant that's literally inches from the end of my lens, which is exactly what I want. Now, when you're framing up an image like this, it can be really tempting to find the tallest plant that you want to photograph and frame it up and just take the shot. But I think you have to get a little bit more in depth about what you're trying to get here. And instead of the main subject being the most important part with an image like this, what the most important part is the background. So what I'm working with is an angled shot. So I'm doing vertical but angled, and I'm getting it so that I'm just having that tip of this plant, like just these little tips right here in focus, and everything else going down the plant is blurred, it's out of focus. And then angling like this, instead of getting level with the plant, but angling the camera a little bit, especially with a wide angle lens, what I'm creating is a solid green background. If I had gotten low here, I would have gotten a lot of the sky and overblown areas into the photo. Would have been really distracting. With it having just solid green in the background and blurred out, I'm creating a composition that makes sense, and I'm pairing certain colors together, and having a solid background makes that subject stand out. Now, I'm shooting right now f2.8, ISO 100, and a shutter speed of 1/200th of a second. I'm doing that because the wind is blowing ever so slightly, maybe even like 2-3 miles per hour. And these are so flimsy, like these plants, this grass is so flimsy that it just blows around very easily. So having 1/200th of a second and having something like focus peaking set on my camera, I can watch, and when that gets right into place, I can have this on continuous shooting, and I can just hold down the shutter, so as that moves, I'm getting a fast enough shutter in place to get it exactly where I want it in the frame, and having that nice and crisp and not blurred motion. So I'm happy with the photograph that I've got so far here. Just one of those dreamy small detail scenes that you can frame up in outdoor photography and landscape photography, and you know, it's fun just being out. All right, onward and upward. You know, I've been really struggling. God, mosquitoes everywhere. These bugs. I've been really struggling lately with being frustrated with state parks in Tennessee, and this is calling them out for sure. And it's because, dude, these bugs are insane right now. What is happening? And it's just, I look at other people in other states, and their state parks are just so nice. I'm talking about people out on the West Coast, kind of. And parks in Tennessee are like, put up a playground, put up a picnic area, and boom, there's your park. No trails. It's just kind of lame. But I digress. I'm trying to force myself to explore more in the parks and get out and hike all the trails, see everything that's out there. Because once you finally do get out and see what's out there, you can really start to figure out the gear you need to take, other precautions you need to take, the photographs you can take, and just one of those things. You gotta go explore. You can't just drive through them. You gotta hike through them to really see what's out there. And also, on the point of bugs, I don't know what it is, but they love me. They hate my wife whenever we go out to photograph. Bugs love me. I get destroyed by mosquitoes every single time. I don't know what it is. So I've been looking for this shot for quite some time. You saw I connected my 70 to 200, and I'm really inspired. I'm just trying to frame up this composition while I talk to you. I'm really inspired by photographers like Adam Gibbs, who can see very simple things. I think this is the angle. So if you see back here, might not be able to, but I'll show you in just a second. There is a mossy covered tree, and you just don't get those things around where I live. So I saw this, had to frame it up, had to shoot it, had to strap on the telephoto to really get this shot the way I wanted it. So we're gonna try to frame this up and shoot it. And it's cloudy right now. There's really nice light coming into the forest canopy. So I think that the light on the moss is really good. Have some nice highlights and very subtle, small, quiet light, Adam Gibbs-esque, if you will. All right, so here we are. We have this framed up in front of me. I think I'm at a good distance. I may need to move back towards you a little bit here, but I'm gonna frame this up vertically. You know, if we shoot this landscape, there's gonna be a lot of clutter on either side of it. There's gonna be a lot of distraction on either side of it, and I'll probably shoot this at about f8, just to try to get that sweet spot of the focus right on this mossy tree that's kind of in between these two vertical trees. So pairing up some contrast there with shapes and directionality, is that a word? Directionality of the two trees, and how you can frame those up and create contrast with your subject and just try to create some interesting factors in a forest scene like this. It's really not that difficult of a shot. Frame it up, nice cloudy skies, nice light, soft landscape, forest scene, here it is. All right, can I be honest with you? I feel like filming this vlog so far, I've come across a little bit negative today, and I promise I don't mean that. I mean, this is a great day out filming, out shooting. We have 3 shots in the can already. I've been out here 45 minutes so far, so that's a really good day of shooting. Can't complain at all. It's just that a lot of times my style of photography is not involving a lot of gear, switching out lenses constantly, and that's what scenes like this cause you to do. And I'm the type of personality that focuses on one thing and I have to get it just perfect and I forget everything else. When in reality, I'm trying to shift my mindset to the opposite way of being open to everything, being okay with taking all of my gear and switching a lot of things in and out, fiddling around with my tripod constantly, and it's just different. It's just different today. And I think that's one of the big struggles of photography, is going out trying to figure out different styles, especially when you're trying to improve yourself, trying to get better every single time you go out and shoot. You can always get better. You can always get worse too. The problem is when you beat yourself up over that. I'm not trying to do that right now. I'm trying to just get what I can, do what I can right now, and get the shots, have fun being out in nature. So let's talk and walk at the same time. I've been falling into a trap recently, and I think you may be too. And it happens when you consistently get better at photography. And that's why you start looking at other people's photos a little bit more than you normally would. It's not a bad thing at all. Can you guys see these bugs around me? Gosh. Anyways, when you start to do that, you start to judge your photos based on the conditions they saw when they were there. That's not fair. Not only are you in a completely different location, but you're also in completely different conditions. The goal of landscape photography, for what I've found specifically, is that you have to continue to not judge yourself based on the conditions that were dealt to you. You work with those conditions and you fight with them, you wrestle with them, and you can't compare yourself to other people, because when you start to do that, you don't take as many photos. You start to wish for conditions that aren't realistic, they aren't there. You just have to photograph with what you have around you where you are. I think it's really easy to say, man, I wish I wasn't in Tennessee, I wish I was in Colorado photographing mountains and epic landscapes like that, but they might be saying the same thing about where you live. The grass is always greener. You can't do that to yourself, because you start limiting the photos that you take and limiting the locations you start to find. So continuing to have that mindset as when you first started out is that you have to just love the struggle. You have to love the exploration of things. You have to love going out and finding places and just photographing what you see and what speaks to you. All right, I have been racking my brain trying to figure out how to end this vlog, since we have been kind of all over the place today, trying to figure out what's out here, what's there to shoot. And I thought there's no better way to end it than with the type of photography I've had an absolute obsession with lately that I haven't done any videos on, and I will do a full video on this, but I just wanted to quickly take you through the process of my new love and obsession for time-lapse photography. If you'll see behind me, it's not the greatest composition, but we do have this really cool tree over here. The sun's coming in here, so it's front lighting the tree and kind of all these grasses. And I think shooting like a long exposure will lengthen the movement of these clouds that are coming in this way. So the grasses will be kind of like blurred out in the foreground. Clouds will be moving across the sky, and we'll have like this consistent big statue tree in the middle of this grassland. I thought it'd be really cool to do, try out. Let me just take you through the processes of how I do very simple time lapses. You can do it with the gear that you have already. All right, so here's what I have set up for this. It's very simple, very easy to do. You can do it with the gear you have. So I have Sony a7R II. I have an ND filter on the front to lengthen that exposure up. I'm shooting at 10 seconds f14 ISO 100 now, and I wanted 10 seconds because it was that good little spot in the histogram where when it does get sunny, when these clouds do roll through and the sun pops through these clouds behind us, it's not overexposed, it's not underexposed when it's flat and cloudy like this. And then I have a cable release set on the hold mark on it. So when you're getting a cable release, always want one with the hold for it. And what I do is just set my camera to continuous shooting, and then I lock that hold down. So every time a frame finishes, the next one begins. And a lot of people don't think like they can do time lapse because it takes hours and hours and hours. If you're shooting at night, yeah, it will. It'll take like 3 to 4 hours to shoot an entire Milky Way time lapse. But if you're doing something simple like this, with it being sunny, you know, I may shoot 250 images with a 10-second exposure. I'll probably be out here for maybe 30 minutes, so it's not like a huge deal getting something like this. Another reason why I love time lapses is I don't have to sit here and watch everything happening to be sure I photograph this at the exact right moment. I can wait here and just let this run, get a time lapse, but I can also grab a single frame out of that time lapse and edit it later to get that landscape shot that I want. So basically what I'm doing the rest of the day is just watching this, making sure there's no shifting or camera movement because that's going to ruin the entire time lapse, and just enjoying a sunny, balmy day in Tennessee. So I'll throw up the time lapse at the very end of this. I just want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, like the channel, like the video, and ring the notification bell so you can know when I post a new video that's going to hopefully help you level up your photography game. Here's that time lapse. God, mosquitoes everywhere. These bugs. They hate my wife whenever we go out to photograph. Can you guys see these bugs around me? Gosh.